Once, a Zen student proudly recited an old Buddhist verse to his teacher. The poem said, "The roaring waters are the voice of one vast tongue. The ridges of the mountains are the pure body of Buddha." "Isn't that true?" the student asked eagerly. "It is," the teacher replied, but it's unfortunate that you needed to say it aloud." He paused, then added, "If I were to speak to you as the ancient Zen masters once did, I would simply tap this microphone with my fan and then walk away." Because Zen is not something that can be trapped inside a sentence, a philosophy, or a neatly packaged explanation, Zen is a way of living, a state of being, something that slips free the moment we try to pin it down with concepts. So any words I offer you tonight, every idea, every phrase, are meant to reveal only this: the limits of words and the limits of thinking. Still, if one must attempt to describe Zen, let it be a simple introduction. Zen, at its core, is not a doctrine. There is nothing you are required to believe. It is not a philosophy in the Western sense, not a net of ideas meant to capture the truth. Because reality is not a fish caught in a net. Reality is water, and water, as you know, slips through anything that tries to grasp it. When you step into water, there is nothing solid to hold. Everything in this universe is like that, fluid, moving, shifting, impermanent. And when a person accustomed to dry land is suddenly thrown into deep water, their first instinct is to try to stand on it, to seize it, to cling to something, and of course they drown. The only way to remain alive in water is to learn to float, to let it carry you, to move with it rather than against it. This is especially true in the swirling waters of modern confusion, a world where old certainties have crumbled, where the idea of God seems dead to many, where metaphysics feels meaningless, and where there's nothing left that the mind can securely rest on. Everything looks as though it is falling apart, and in such a world there is only one real practice left: learn to swim, learn to surrender, learn to move with the flow rather than fight it. Because the moment you stop struggling to stand on water, you discover you were always meant to swim. To swim, you must release your tension. You stop resisting, soften your body, surrender to the water, and suddenly it holds you. You discover that floating is not an act of force, but of trust. And in a deeper sense, you and the water become one movement, one rhythm. Zen is much the same. If we were to imperfectly and always misleadingly try to express Zen as an idea, it might sound like this: there is one great energy flowing through everything in the universe. It has no final, perfect name. Human beings have tried for centuries to name it. Some call it God, some Brahman, some Tao. But in the West, the word God has accumulated so many rigid meanings, emotional burdens, and childhood residuals that for many people it creates more confusion than illumination. So we feel refreshed when we hear new words: Tao, Brahman, Shin, Tatha, strange sounds from distant cultures that don't carry the old emotional baggage. But even these aren't really names. Many of the Buddhist terms for the primal energy of existence translate poorly into English. Take the Sanskrit word tathata, usually rendered as suchness or thusness, yet its root is simply tat, meaning that you are, the scriptures say. Or in modern language, you are it. Think of a newborn. The first sound a baby makes upon entering the world is D. D. Pointing, reaching, recognizing that. Fathers love to imagine the baby is saying Dada. But in Buddhist understanding, the infant is responding to the raw suchness of life itself. The teaching is this: everything in the cosmos is a single thatness, one living tapestry with 10,000 expressions, but all emerging from one source. And this suchness does not stay still. It moves, shifts, breathes, appears, and disappears. The world is an endless cycle of presence and absence, arising and dissolving, just like waves cresting and falling back into the sea. The Chinese describe this rhythm as yin and yang, light and dark, full and empty, seen and unseen. Now you are, now you aren't. Energy itself functions like a pulse, a flickering alternation, on-off, expansion, contraction, movement, rest. But human beings, lost in a peculiar kind of sleep, a confusion produced by fear, memory, and conditioning, begin to imagine that the dark side of the cycle will someday win forever, that the trough will swallow the wave, that yin will permanently extinguish yang. That absence will defeat presence. And we frighten ourselves with this illusion. We whisper, what if the darkness finally triumphs? What if the light never returns? And so we tremble, living in fear of a catastrophe that cannot exist, because the universe itself is woven from the balance of both. Once we see this clearly, we understand why Zen masters insist, stop fighting the water, become the water. Learn how to swim in the energy of life rather than stand against it. Isn't it strange when you really pause to notice that anything exists at all? Existence itself is the great improbability. It seems as though it would require far less effort for there to be nothing. No stars, no bodies, no thoughts, no world. And yet here it all is. And because existence appears to take effort, we imagine that sooner or later everything must give up and collapse back into non-being. But what we call death is simply the inward breath of the same energy whose outward breath we call life. They are two faces of one pulse. You cannot have the solid without the empty space around it, nor the space without something to hold it in contrast. Life and death are like this, mutually defining, inseparable. When you awaken to this, you begin to understand a profound truth the French tried to capture when they said, the more it changes, the more it is the same thing. You are not a separate creature navigating a hostile universe. You are an expression, a movement, a ripple of the one energy that animates everything. And because that energy loves to play, it does not allow you to remain the same identity forever. That would become unbearably dull. So it lets you dissolve for a time, only to reappear as someone entirely new. A fresh mask, a new wave, another face of the same ocean. When you truly feel this, a surge of vitality moves through you. As William Blake said, energy is eternal delight. Suddenly the gravity of existence becomes lighter, and you see through the grand seriousness of things. You realize you are that, the nameless essence, the unfolding mystery, and you cannot ever truly be anything else. With this recognition, a deep fear leaves you. Not that you become fearless in the superficial sense. You will still jump at loud noises, still worry from time to time, still feel irritation rise in the body. But beneath all that, at your core, you become unshakably human and unshakably whole. Zhuangzi expressed this beautifully. The perfected person uses the mind like a mirror. It does not grasp, it does not reject. It reflects everything and holds on to nothing. Translated into our modern language, this is the art of living without a hang-up, of drifting like a cloud, flowing like water, recognizing that all of life is a marvelous illusion, a cosmic game of energy dancing with itself. And when you see that, you understand there is absolutely nothing that needs to be feared at the deepest level. Life is not a threat, but a performance, a temporary dream in which you are free to play. And when this simple, almost playful truth settles within you, life stops feeling like a burden and begins to appear as a strange and beautiful adventure. You start to notice that every wave rising in your mind, joy, sorrow, confusion, clarity, is nothing but another expression of the same ancient energy that has been dancing the universe into existence for billions of years. Sometimes it shows up as delight, sometimes as fear, sometimes as inspiration, sometimes as emptiness. But gradually you realize that all of it is one movement, one current, one pulse. And the moment you understand this, the need to cling to the good moments and push away the bad ones begins to fade. You stop fighting with reality, and in place of struggle, a kind of dance emerges. You see that thoughts arise and disappear, emotions swell and dissolve, people come into your life and leave, and all mirroring the nature of the universe itself, appearing, expressing, vanishing, just like breath. Life stops feeling like a rigid path where every misstep leads to punishment. Instead, it becomes a river carrying you forward, sometimes swiftly, sometimes lazily, sometimes through rapids, sometimes through calm water, but always carrying you exactly where it needs to go. And your task is not to swim upstream, not to grab the water with clenched fists, not to shout instructions at the current, but to learn how to move with it. And then you uncover a remarkable secret. Freedom was never in control. Freedom was in trust. When you stop trying to hold the world in a fixed shape, it suddenly feels safe. When you stop demanding that everything happen the right way, you begin to see that everything has always been happening the right way, not for your comfort, but for your awakening. And the sense of being a stranger in your own life dissolves. You no longer experience yourself as a separate entity battling circumstances, but as life itself moving through a temporary form called you. This doesn't distance you from your humanity. It deepens it. You become softer, more patient, more honest. You no longer need to pretend to be a hero or a sage. You're free to feel fear, to make mistakes, to fall apart. Because even those moments are part of the cosmic rhythm expressing itself through your experience. And then a profound peace arrives, a quiet recognition that life has never been against you, it has always been you. While you were busy struggling, life was gently waiting for you to notice. There is nothing to cling to, nothing to fear, nothing to defend. You are already part of the dance and were never anything else. And when this becomes clear, you stop living from fear to fear and start living from moment to moment, as a cloud drifting without asking the wind for permission, as water flowing without resisting its own shape. And in this, you discover a great freedom, the freedom to be, the freedom to move with life rather than against it, the freedom to open yourself and let existence carry you where it naturally flows. And finally, you see the truth that had been waiting all along. This is enough. You are enough. And as this understanding deepens, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop trying to arrange life and you begin to witness it. You stop wrestling with each moment and instead arrive within it. You discover that what you used to call problems were often nothing more than resistance, your mind insisting that reality should be different from what it is. But the moment you loosen your grip, the world loosens its grip on you. You find yourself responding to life rather than reacting to it. There is a quiet intelligence within stillness, a wisdom that speaks not through thought, but through presence. And when you tap into that presence, decisions become clearer, emotions become lighter, and life, which once seemed chaotic, begins to feel exquisitely meaningful. You start to understand that every encounter is a mirror, every challenge a teacher, every joy a reminder, and every loss an opening. For nothing in this universe is truly taken from you. It merely changes form. Every ending is a doorway dressed as darkness. Every disappointment is a turning of the page. Every fall is the earth pulling you closer for a moment before helping you stand again. You begin to see that you were never traveling alone, never walking blind, never abandoned. Life has been guiding you, not through maps or guarantees, but through experience, pushing you to shed the layers that were never really yours. And then, in the quiet, you realize something that feels almost shocking in its simplicity. You don't need to become extraordinary. You only need to become real. You don't need to seek purpose elsewhere. You only need to awaken to the purpose that is woven into your being. That purpose is to live fully, to breathe deeply, to see clearly, to love freely, but not as a demand, but as an expression of your nature. For you are life, momentarily aware of itself. You are the universe, briefly looking out through human eyes. And the more you let go of who you think you must be, the more you become who you already are. A movement of energy, a splash of consciousness, a spark of the infinite disguised as a person. When this sinks in, a gentle courage awakens in you. Not the loud, dramatic courage of heroes, but the quiet, steady courage of someone who finally trusts their own existence. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, choose differently, not out of fear, but out of awareness. And life, sensing your shift, begins to open in ways you could never force or plan. Synchronicities appear. People who match your frequency begin to enter your orbit. Opportunities unfold as naturally as petals opening at dawn, because when you stop clinging, you start allowing. And when you start allowing, everything flows. If this journey of awakening speaks to you, if these reflections remind you of something ancient within your own heart, then stay connected. Subscribe to the channel for more spoken wisdom, profound insights, and deep reminders of who you truly are. Your presence here means more than you know.